Good evening. Welcome to the Reading City Council meeting for August 18th, 2020. Please join me in a prayer and our pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Got a little flag here, so I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, can we have tonight's roll call, please?
Mr. Powell,
Here.
Mr. Gertz,
Here.
Mr. Lynn,
Here.
Mr. Albright,
Here.
Mr. Lindeman,
Mr. Lynn is he's having trouble getting on. We may welcome him in a few minutes.
okay, Mr. Fischasher,
Here.
Mrs. Edichico.
Here.
At this time, I'll go ahead and all in favor of excusing Mr. Lindeman until he comes on, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, he's welcome to come on whenever he can. Unless there's any objection, the council minutes that were distributed for July 21st, our regular session, are approved as distributed. Those minutes are approved. There has been an update to the August 4th minutes. Carla, our clerk, did receive a written agenda of the items that Chief Ennen, what's his last name? Chief
Eden.
Chief what?
Edens.
You talking about the priest?
The police chief's last name.
Edens.
Edens.
Chief Eden gave. So those have been added to the minutes. I can send them back out for everyone, but everything else is the same. So I'd like to go ahead and ask for an approval on those minutes. Unless there's any objection, I'd like to approve those minutes for August 4th, a regular session. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so one opposed and a couple. So we'll go ahead and approve them, and I'll send them back out so you can see the written report by Mr. Eden.
Hey,
Tonight we have
Chris, that was Chris, my eye came in early or late.
oh,
I was
okay.
actually for the minutes.
Okay, we have to be careful with that, I guess. Yeah, okay, good. That's excellent. We have guests here tonight. They're on our agenda as audience asking participation, but we're going to have to come up with a new category for our guest speakers that we invite. So probably something like council guest invite or something like that will be on the agenda. But tonight we have Mr. Bishop and Mr. Service. Is that how you say your name, Surace? Close enough?
Close enough. Close enough.
Okay. Well, you'll have to say what it really is. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, where you live, and please make this part of Mr. Lindeman's. Hey, Don's on now. Welcome, Don.
Hey,
And this is going to be part of Mr. Lindeman's actual report, but we'll get the rest of his report later.
I'll go ahead and start.
So do you want to introduce him, Don? You're on mute.
No.
You're still on mute, Don. Okay.
Fine.
Are you're off mute? You're back on mute now, Don. Now
Chris, I
you're
can go
on.
ahead and introduce him if you like.
Go ahead, Don.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Go ahead, Patrick.
We have Mark Bishop and Rich Surace. I think it's Rich. You can say it. They're both from Energy Alliances. They're the broker that works on behalf of the city of Reading and our residents with both of our gas and electric aggregation programs. Mark is going to talk first about the history of the aggregation program, what it is, what it isn't, because there's a lot of confusion It's something that I've explained, I've tried to explain many times over years, but Mark will again go over what it is, what it isn't. The one thing I'm going to say, it is not, you're not being double billed. There's a lot of things going out there, but I can tell you for a fact, you're not being double billed. And then Rich is on the kind of on the buyer side, and he's out there shopping for the best rates for us right now. So after Mark goes over program history, what aggregation is, Rich is going to explain the pricing that he has secured for the city. And then we have a chance later to move forward with that fixed pricing. So I'll leave it now to you, Mark.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for allowing us to join your meeting tonight to discuss the electric aggregation program. I'm Mark Bishop. I live in Reading. I'm also Vice President of Energy Alliances, and we do manage the aggregation programs for natural gas and electric for the city of Reading and many neighboring communities. I'm joined by Rich Surace, Chief Operating Officer of Energy Alliances. I'd like to start by giving a little background on the programs. In 2008, October, I spoke at a Reading Council meeting to talk about Issue 19, which appeared on that November's ballot. Issue 19 gave Reading officials the authority to form a natural gas aggregation, which Reading residents approved overwhelmingly at the polls. On May 6th of 2014, residents again approved a ballot initiative, this time for an electric aggregation. After each passage, a required public meeting was held to discuss how the programs would be operated and get public input. The natural gas program started in the fall of 2009, and the electric program started in March of 2015. I field a lot of questions about gas and electric purchasing from my neighbors, sometimes through Facebook, often about confusing offers that come via bulk mail, online, in local stores, and by scams by robocalls that I think we're all too familiar with. I'm always happy to talk about specific offers, how to compare offers, and how to avoid being misled. Sometimes people mistakenly think Duke Energy's default rates are kind of safe havens from the confusion and may offer a better or more stable result. I'll give you a little bit more about that in a minute. Another misconception that keeps making the rounds is that the city gets a commission on the aggregation program. This has never been true. Your council members, as well as your safety service director, Patrick Ross, have worked very hard to understand the program and its benefits to residents and small businesses, so they can be informed and answer questions, but the city doesn't receive any compensation from the program. Since deregulation was implemented, your bill now separates delivery charges from the cost of electricity or gas itself, which adds to some of the confusion. One of the goals of the aggregation opportunity is to simplify the buying process for consumers by offering a professionally run, well-planned choice for residents and small businesses in the community. A choice that offers price protection and stability during the periods when the market is typically the most volatile. This is something that Duke's default rate doesn't offer. Aggregation also provides you with the confidence that the program's terms and conditions have been vetted to avoid surprises like finding out you were on an introductory rate only or something of that sort. With aggregation programs, sudden price spikes are avoided, like the ones caused by the polar vortex or other geopolitical events. The enrollment process is automatic, so you don't have to constantly shop for the next deal before your contract ends. And many suppliers will surprise you with auto renew or roll you into a very high month-to-month rate when your agreement expires, or even charge you exit fees or early termination fees. With the aggregation program, we manage the purchasing process proactively, which is part of why Rich and I are here tonight. So finally, why do we use an opt-out process? Well, the opt-out process allows for the greatest participation to achieve the lowest aggregate price for you. It's not a guaranteed savings program, but we have a tremendous track record of results. In a way, it sort of acts as price insurance. We've structured our program to allow you to opt in or out anytime with no fees and with a simple phone call, or during an official opt-out period with a supplied mail-in card. If you call us, we're always willing to help you understand your Duke bill and discuss how the options compare for your situation, but it's your choice. A permanent opt-out option is also available for residents on an electric aggregation program. Remember, switching to another supplier's program may lock you in for an extended period of time and be costly to switch back when you choose. But finally, I'd like to say that the customer participation and satisfaction rates are traditionally very high in aggregation programs that we manage in Southwestern Ohio. So at this time, I'm going to let Rich discuss some of the options for the program. and how we take it from here.
Thanks, Mark. And I guess even before we, kind of move on, were there any kind of initial questions related to that before we get into some of the pricing kind of moving forward?
Tell us how many customers you have. And there's a lot of cities and villages that have signed up, voted for this, and have been part of it.
Are you asking how many we manage or how many have switched in the state? So right now in our portfolio, between the gas and electric, it's a little bit over 400,000 residential customers across all the programs. And, and the state as a whole, it's over 1 million as far as how many have switched. And as far as in the city of Reading, we've seen about an average of about 28, just shy of 2,900 accounts that have participated in the program over the last, let's call it 36 months.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I add one other thing? Because we do get a lot of questions. Why am I not on this? I never opted out. I never received a letter. I just wanted to add that if you're with another supplier, you will not be given a chance to get into the program because your information is not given by Duke to the supplier. So if you're with another supplier, whether it be Direct Energy, which I encourage everyone to look at their bill and see who they are, because I looked at someone's bill the other day and on their electric, their price was double what we are paying right now. So our rate right now is currently 0.0549 cents per kilowatt hour. That's the measurement for electricity. And they were paying, I think it was 0.12 something. I mean, that on one bill in the summer months, I mean, that was like an $80 or $90 difference alone. And that's not even counting the delivery charges, just the difference. So you are not, you will not be added in there, but I have helped people through Rich and Mark. They contact us and they want to switch. First thing we'll tell you is you want to contact them and check that they're not going to charge you a $250 opt out of their program. Sometimes it still might be worth it if you're being charged a very high rate. So I just wanted to add that in there too, that because we do get some people who also move in after the period and they're not included as well. They're like, well, why? It's not automatic. There's a period, what is it, once a year or so, Rich, that they'll pull the list of accounts and then they'll get those letters, but everybody won't get them if they're with another program, right?
Yeah, I mean, we typically try to do what we call resweeps, at least twice a year. They'll say every 6 months, and then we'll do them closer to a quarter, depending on how many people seem to have moved in and out of the village itself. I'm sorry, of the city. So it really kind of depends. Just as Patrick said, we get a lot of calls of people that say they did not get a letter, they didn't get a chance to opt out, and then when you look at their bill, you find that they're with another supplier. And the way that the laws of Ohio are written is that if somebody is already with another supplier, they are not initially eligible for the aggregation because we don't know their terms. We don't know if they have termination fees. We don't know any of those details. So that's why it's sort of up to that person to know the contract that they're under with that supplier, and we can help them with that, kind of help decipher the bill, and then find out if the aggregation is a good program. And then just as Patrick said, some of them may have termination fees. And there's been plenty of times that we've done the math and say, hey, if you're at 0.13 cents and you have a $100 termination fee and you're going to take that down to something, let's just say sub 6 cents, you could probably make up that $100 in a matter of months. And we can absolutely and have kind of help people think through that process and at least educate them, let them know what their options are when it comes to that.
Real quick, what's the name of the supplier that they should see on their Duke bill if they're in the aggregation program?
So right now, Dynegy is the supplier of the aggregation program. We do have some cases that they may see Dynegy on the bill, but not be part of the aggregation program. So a little bit of history. Dynegy is actually the old Duke Retail. So there are a lot of people just because of the Duke name, let's say, 7 or 8 years ago, they had opted in to an offer with Duke Retail. And those people, just as Patrick said, they're not automatic, even though it's the same company, they're not automatically put in. So though most that will see Dynegy on their bill will be part of the aggregation program, we do sometimes get a select few that had opted into a program with Duke Retail or even Dynegy itself, because I know that they were doing things at the Reds games for a while and stuff. But that's something that we could always help somebody look at just by seeing just the one line on their bill where it says Dynegy. You'll have the explanation of charges. It'll say Dynegy and they'll be able to price right by their name. And right now, if they see 549, they're with the aggregation program. Something else, it would be one of their what they call mass market offers.
I might add that that's for electric, and on the gas, they'll see Constellation as the supplier. And we encourage people to look at their bill every month and actually look and see, make sure it's got who you think it is. And not only that the supplier is correct, but that the price hasn't changed. Because sometimes people will inadvertently sign up on a different program with the same supplier. So we want to make sure they look at their bill. And it also helps to look at it for the usage as well. We see a lot of people this time of year and in the wintertime when we have a cold month or a warm month, we'll see people call and say, my bill's really high. Well, it's because the usage was doubled.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about kind of where the program is finishing up as we come towards the last few months of this current program, and then what some of our options are kind of moving forward. So back in June of 2017, the council did approve a price of 5.49 cents from December of 2017 through June of 2021. But the way the state of Ohio has written the laws, you can only really, you have to give people a chance every 36 months to opt out of any program, no matter the length. So we did take that to just a 3-year time. So as far as the residents are concerned, and what they were given as far as opt-out letters and all that stuff, the program is coming to an end this December of that 549. But there is still that 6-month window of time that was on the contract that was signed between the city and Dynegy from December of 2020 through June of 2021. Going to try to keep that all straight. So the current program ends in December 549. So what I did is I did go out to work with Dynegy, and then just seeing some of the other market offers in the market. It looks like staying with Dynegy is our best option. And really, after they gave me a variety of different pricing scenarios, I mean, I asked them for so many different types of terms and everything else. I think two kind of floated to the top that Mark and I wanted to present it to council. So the first would be what we'll call a tiered price. So letters would go out, no later than this October to residents, and it would say, for a term of December of this year through June of next year, your price would be 549. That's obviously the contract that's already in place. But then, and these prices are indicative, they were good, they're good as of today, but we'll kind of go into what we're asking for council to approve as well. So 549 for the first 6 months of 2021. And then from June of 2021 to December of 2022, the prices would then fall to 529. So though everybody would get just the one letter, it would explain in that letter your price 549 for this term, and then falls to 529, during the next 18 months after that. That's option one. So that, a very good option, right? We know the prices for this winter are the same that they would have been last winter. Reading residents typically use about 40% of their energy during the winter months. So, keeping that, we'll call it higher price, to kind of where they've been there through the summer, we feel comfortable to then see a bigger drop during the summer months where they use roughly 60% of their energy. The other option would be what you call a blend and extend. So it would be take that chunk of 549 and then, really the 529 and smooth that out during the entire 2-year period. So starting this December through December of 2022, the price, again, indicatively, would have to go back to Dynegy again and get a refresh, would be 539. So then a drop. So in either one of those cases, we do see a drop in price from the 549 that residents are paying now. Does anybody kind of have, we can dig into a little bit more, but any sort of, am I clear on what those two options are? Either sort of a tiered price over the time or one price over the 2 years. So I'll stop there for a moment and make sure that people understand the pricing structure before I get into any more of the details. Okay.
So are you going to choose which one of those two options, or
no? I kind of Yeah, I think Mark and I, we want to give our suggestion. I mean, we like option one, right? We like the option of the price staying at 549 through the first 6 months of the year. Again, honoring the contract that's already in place and then dropping that down. The reason we like that suggestion is because the residents use most of their power during the summer. That's paying 529 starting next summer is better than paying 539 next summer, right? So though we hold on to that price a little bit longer, it actually, I've taken the shape of all the residents and kind of done the math. They do come out in favor by doing that tiered price. But Mark and I like to make sure that that council knows of sort of our thought process and some of the options on whether we do kind of this tiered price or just a flat blend and extend. But our suggestion would be to go with the tiered price. We think that is a better overall product for the residents.
A question I have, looking at energy prices overall, I know you guys don't have a crystal ball, but are the trends for it to continue to go down, or do you think it'll remain stable, or?
So for right now, I try not to get too nerdy with this stuff, but so there are two major parts that make up your price. There's the energy price and there's the capacity price. We do know that starting next year, the capacity price, and we'll call it in the Duke footprint, does go up. It goes up by about another 10%. That makes up roughly 20% of your bill. So that is a known. So that's one thing that's driving the price higher. It's also why we're bringing really only a 2-year product to you instead of a 3, because if we start bringing in that 3rd year, we start to kind of weigh in more of those higher cost capacity years. But though the energy price, energy price has sort of gone down, the capacity price is going up. For the most part, the prices are, relatively flat to slowly rising. And that's why, again, we've brought more of a 2-year time frame to you than 3 years in the past, because just the shape of the market says that this seems to be a better fit for the city. There are also some other regulatory things and other policy things going on in the state of Ohio right now. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with House Bill 6 and kind of what's in the news about that and things that have come up a bit with the former Speaker of the House, Larry Householder, and that. So, I think there's a lot of things on the horizon that could shake up the policy in our state on the energy side. So again, I feel comfortable working with the city for a 2-year deal, but I'm not sure I want to put the risk on your shoulders or the residents' shoulders for many more years past that. So we're trying to kind of find that balance of price of what we know and what we don't know, as well as some other policy and regulatory things currently going on in the state.
I want to get back to my question just a second. So in the ordinance, we would then make a choice between option 1 or option 2, or would it be written that way? Option 1 or option 2?
No. So actually, what we've asked for is that you would allow, whoever would be designated to sign. So I assume at this meeting to say that you would allow somebody to sign a deal that would not exceed 5.39 cents through December of 2022, so that we can transact really at any time. And that that your ceiling for the price is 539. The hope is that we can get something less. The market's moved up about 4% in the last couple of weeks, with the heat that came in. But yet we don't really have to sign on the dotted lines, or I guess, letters won't go out to the residents till October. We've got a little bit of time. So I kind of would like to see this market shake out a little bit. It seems to just have been a little bit jumpy from the hot weather we had. Then there were the hurricanes a couple of weeks before that. There's a lot of things just in the market right now that just feel that today is not the right day to sign. But I think we're comfortable asking, for you to sign or giving, the authority for somebody to sign, knowing your ceiling, with the idea we'll continue to work with Dynegy to get a lower price when the market's right. Maybe that's tomorrow. If the market collapses tomorrow, then we may send you an agreement tomorrow and say, hey, here's the executable that we'd like to do, but your worst case at the 539.
And the other question I had is for 6 months, we'll have it at 549. That's like 1/4 of the time, 1/4 of 2 years at 549. We'd have it at 3/4 of the year at 529. But you're saying 539 for all 2 years. It seems like we might pay a little more because it's a shorter period of time at 549 than it is at 529. Is that not true?
No, because again, that would assume that you have equal usage across every month. So you have residents typically use about 40% of their energy during the winter months and 60% during the summer and
Okay.
fall months. So when you play that kind of waiting game of,
Okay.
of sort of doing
So
this, that's where the numbers.
two-thirds of that 529 is going to be at 529, not 539. So you're saying it weighs out better that way.
Correct. Yeah.
I
So I did the math. I took pretty much every month. I took the average usage for a resident and said, okay, if we did the 549 for those 6 months and then 529, and I weighed it out, and it's a slight edge to the tiered price.
Okay.
Honestly,
I understand why it's that way. Yes.
Yeah. And Mark and I had talked through it. Neither one is really a bad. We want, again, sometimes people like to just offer the flat price, and that's why we're talking about the two. So neither one is really a bad choice. But if our job is to give you our opinion, and our opinion is that the tiered,
Okay.
for a few different issues, has the edge and would be our suggestion.
Any other questions? You had something more to present to us?
No, I think I talked enough.
Really? I thought you were giving us a break there and you were going to tell us some more. Okay.
Some questions for people and provided a little insight into, again, how the program began and kind of where it stands now.
Well, I don't usually get any questions from the public on this, but maybe some of the councilmen do, and I hope you all understand it better now to be able to talk with your constituents. So thank you very much for coming on tonight. If there's any other questions, let's ask them.
Please pass our office number around. Let people know they can call us, and we'll be happy to look at their bills and work them through any process they would like.
Okay.
We have a
and do you
website
have-
as well.
I'd like to make a comment. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming this evening. And there were some things out there on Facebook that alleged that the city and people were getting kickbacks and so forth. And I wanted to make sure that I thank Mr. Lindeman for having you here tonight. I didn't get into it or interject anything, but I'm glad we covered all those issues and appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you have anything that you've written up that would be good for our minutes, I'd like you to go ahead and forward that to Carla so she can add it to the minutes. And also make sure that both your names and phone numbers, contact numbers, your contact information is with Carla, so she can put that in the minutes too.
Okay. And also they can also visit our website. We have all our communities listed.
Okay.
They can go to communities we serve, and they can look up Reading's aggregation program. It's got the numbers to enroll or the numbers to opt out. And it's got the prices, what they should expect on their bill, and who should be on the bill.
Okay.
It's energyalliances.com.
And we can send you the direct link right to, even though everything's there, we could send you the direct link right to Reading's dedicated page. And if you want to put that on.
Yeah, I'll work with the
right there.
I can work with the website, or Patrick can to get that on there.
Okay.
All right, thank you for coming this evening. You don't need to stick
Thank you,
around
gentlemen.
unless
Is it going to be exciting?
Never
I
is.
think the exciting has already happened. So
We'll let you go. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Chris, real quick on that topic. Chris,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm gonna black out some bills, personal information, account numbers, and I'm gonna highlight and circle some things on a bill, and I'm gonna post that online for people. For someone who's looking at a bill and thinks that they're being double charged, because I can't tell you my people I've sat in person with and looked at it and pointed out to them, this is what your bill is, this is how much it is. So
I think that's an excellent idea.
yeah, I've already started it. So I'm blocking out the information, putting some little numbers explaining, hey, look at this. I mean, on the front page alone with the high bill numbers that people are saying, you first have to look at usage. On your bill, it'll show you a graph that'll show, a line graph that'll show you up and down. It'll give you your 12-month usage average. When I say that, look at that and then look at your current usage. And if you're 2.5 times your normal, your bill's going to be higher. When you normally use 1,200 units and you're using 3,000, you're going to have a higher bill. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Doesn't matter if you're with us for aggregation or not. Your bill is going to be substantially higher. For each 1,000 units a kilowatt hour about, that you increase, that's $54.90 more you're going to pay on the generation only. Then you have the distribution charges that are also based on your usage amount. So please look at that first, but I will put it online and circle things to hopefully highlight what you should be looking at on your bill. So I just wanted to say that before we move
I
on.
think that's a really good idea.
Chris, that's why the
Yeah.
resolution has Patrick, the Safety Service Director, negotiating.
Okay.
Mark told me before that, with hurricane season, that has something to do with the energy prices. And so that's one of the reasons that they would not want to sign anything right now. But I think it's in good hands with Patrick.
Great, thank you. You can give more in your report later if you come up with anything else. But at this time, I like to go ahead and I don't think there's any audience participation. What we have a link on our homepage now where where you go to see council minutes. There it has a link to a form that you can fill out at ICRC and request to be added as a participant to this meeting for audience participation. So the general public can join us. We just need to have them fill out a form and then ICRC can create the link and send it to you as an email so that you can also get on this meeting.
Chris, on
Yeah.
that note, I thought Katie sent something out that there was a link already established. Is that correct, Katie?
Yeah, I posted it on my Facebook page. I copied the link and it's posted on there. And I believe now it's on the Reading
That's what
page.
came from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I sent it to Katie and everybody really, but she was the one that asked for it. So I addressed it to her, but everybody on council got that email.
Okay, but there was no response from the public?
Not yet. Not that I know of.
Okay.
I'm going to also talk to ICRC, and Keith, you might want to get to me after this meeting about having both myself and Carla included on that email that's generated by their request for participation so that we know who is going to be at the meeting. And I can also maybe give them a call and find out what their topic is going to be and talk to them like I usually do at council meetings.
Chris, I had someone who sent me an email and said that they had signed up to speak at the meeting and then decided that they didn't want to, but they had also sent me their letter and I said, that's okay, I'll read it for you. So
That's fine.
it did work.
So we almost had somebody here, but both Mark and I already forgot his first name.
Rich.
Yeah, they both got on through ICRC, had nothing to do with us. I submitted their names and they got the link and they got in just fine. All right, I want to go to reading of any communications.
I actually have quite a few. The first thing I am going to read is I know, be part of Dad's report, but it's the letter from Linda Wilson regarding opposition to Thurnridge Road widening. So you asked me to read that. I'm going to read that first. Everybody's received a copy of that, but for purposes of for the rest of the residents as well, I'm going to read through her letter first. Mayor Bemis and City Council members, this letter is to voice opposition to the widening of Thurnridge Drive for the following reason. Number one, increase of speed. Current average speed is approximately 35 to 40 miles per hour. More room and a smoother pavement equals more speed. Number two, motorists do not stop now at the intersection of Bolster and Thurnridge. More speed will mean faster roll-throughs at the stop sign. Number three, cutting down trees will be responsible for numerous issues. A, approximately 30 years ago, residents paid to have the trees planted in the tree lawns. B, lowering of property values. Houses will bake in the sun all day, no screening or privacy from houses across the street, no neighborhood ambiance. C, no shade for houses, bringing an increase in utility bills and costing residents more money each month. D, no shade for those Reading citizens who are walkers. Thurnridge is one of the few streets on the on the hilltop with any shade during the day. E, lack of privacy. Motorists will have an open view of the houses, most of which have bedrooms, bathrooms on the front of the first floor. F, lack of noise barrier, especially for those residents living near the new school. Trees help to mute the irritating whining of the HVAC systems, as well as the 4:30 to 6 a.m. dumpsters being empty. G, no light barrier from the street lights. Again, most houses have bedrooms on the front of the house. H, no wind buffer as storms come across the hilltop from the west. Wide open land and new school allows for winds to sweep across Thurnridge. I, trees provide habitat for wildlife, shelter, food. J, trees provide oxygen. K, trees provide a barrier to speeding cars ending up in your yards. Number 4, moving curbs closer to sidewalks endangers walkers. Children's playing or riding bikes and scooters, as well as pets being walked. 5, decreasing the size of the tree lawns will mean that residents will be forced to pile leaves, yard waste, and garbage on the sidewalks for collection. This will then impede the right of way for residents walking, children riding bikes. 6, moving traffic closer to the front of houses increases noise levels inside houses. 7, several residences on the east side will back out of sloping driveways directly into traffic with little to no vision of oncoming cars if apron footage is decreased. 8, currently there are residents that do park in their drives but block the sidewalk. With less apron footage, walkers will be forced into the street to get around the back of the car, truck, or SUV. I believe the city is not taking into consideration the best interest of those residents living on Thurnridge Drive. Rather, consideration is only being given to motorists using Thurnridge as a cut-through street and a means to get to other areas. Suggested alternatives to widening the street. Number 1, a no through traffic sign should be placed on Thurnridge at the Furman and Hunt Road intersection, like the sign on Maple Drive and the surrounding streets in Amberley Village and Blue Ash. Number 2, through traffic should be directed down Furman, a 2-lane street. No parking, sidewalks are set well back from the street and places traffic 1 block down on Hunt Road from where Thurnridge intersects Hunt Road. 3, limit the size and number of vehicles allowed to park on Reading streets. Vans, SUVs, and pickup trucks should be parked in driveways. As a point of reference, Covington will no longer allow overnight parking on numerous streets starting October 2020. 4, implement an annual charge for on-street parking. The larger the vehicle, the larger the annual amount, providing funds for the upkeep of Reading streets. Residents will have a choice. Pay the fee to park on the street or park the vehicles in their driveways. In 33 years I have lived on Thurnridge, traffic has greatly increased with larger and larger vehicles being permitted to travel and park on the street. I invite all of you to sit in my driveway and observe traffic for an entire day. Speed, size of vehicles, number of trailers. I also invite you to rake leaves or cut grass on the tree lawn with cars whizzing by at 35 to 40 miles per hour. As a Thurnridge resident, I do not recall being given any voice in the decision to widen the street. The project only became apparent when painted dots and lines appeared on my sidewalk and grass. Again, I do not believe the best interests of the residents living on Thurnridge are being considered. We are the ones who will have to live with the consequences of this short-sighted project. The street obviously requires resurfacing, but not widening. Respectfully submitted, Linda Wilson.
Any comments on this first one?
Move that it be received and filed.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Gertz, seconded by Mr. Albrecht to mark this communication received and filed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we will mark that as received. I'm sure, Denny, you may have some more words on this during your report. So let's go ahead and go with some of those other communications you got.
Chris, too, I think it should be referred to the Safety Service Director and the Chief of Public Works to contact the lady. It's only a courtesy that we should communicate with her. I mean, she has a point about not participating in the decision, or have a public hearing for all the people in Thurnridge they might want to express, or maybe more people that have a different view.
Is that the,
Was
Chris?
there some kind of communication a couple years ago with the people about the project? Or am I wrong?
We talked about, I don't remember that. I don't know.
Patrick, did you hear that?
I did not hear that. But I will say this, A, it has not been engineered yet. Those were surveyors out there. B, I drafted a letter today that myself and the mayor are going to hand deliver to every resident on Thurnridge that goes over what we have been authorized or been approved for funding by the state. It goes through, the overview, full repair of the street, including all full depth repairs. And then it goes through potentials. It goes through the potential for widening. And the widening is roughly 2 to 3 feet spread equally between both sides. So it's not, I don't know if people think we're creating this huge, it's going to be minimal as far as widening. It includes water main down the entire length. It includes all of the catch basins being repaired, all of the driveway aprons being repaired, includes brand new curbs, and in the letter describes it has yet to be determined whether it's going to be roll curbs or box curbs. And then it discusses the major things. And number one, speeding is the number one complaint on that street, and probably citywide it's the number one complaint. And like I said, it hasn't been engineered yet, but already our engineer has been tasked with incorporating traffic calming engineering into the project. Those have not been, nothing has been determined or decided on, but that has been, especially if you're going to, even if we weren't going to widen it, it should be looked into whether or not we should put traffic calming measures in there to slow down people. Second, it is widening. Over the years, we've heard from a lot of people that they wish Thurnridge was wider. Like I said before, we do not have to do it. However, if we don't do it now, it will likely be at least minimum 30 years before the opportunity to do so comes around again. So we really need to think about that, as far as, we don't want to be short-sighted in the other way and not fully, thinking about what we do here right now, because we received over $1.95 million of grants and loans for this project. So we need to look at that. The third item that's mentioned in the letter is trees. Even if we do not widen the street, our engineers believe that when we cut into the street, we cut into the curbs and the aprons, most likely the trees will, be killed because we're cutting deeply into those roots. So if we don't take them out, but when we cut into their roots, what's going to happen to those trees anyway? Because if you go down that street, a lot of those trees are right next to the curbs, right next to the sidewalks. There is no room between area. So those roots are all there. Also, if you walk the street, it is our engineer looked at that a little while ago before this project was even going on, and said that the vast majority of the hazards in the sidewalk, the trippers, are caused by the tree roots. So even if we do not widen, when we do this project, the trees, it's going to be difficult when you're looking at trying to preserve those trees. So that's another thing. If we do widen, it's not even an option. It will, all the trees or the majority of the trees will have to go if it is widened. So those were the biggest issues, but we are going to be hand delivering a letter. All of the council members' emails will be listed on there. We're going to ask residents to respond to myself, the mayor, or any of the elected officials by 2 weeks from Friday. So they can either email you back, they can handwrite a note and deliver it to City Hall, or handwrite a note and put it in the Dropbox, or email one, two, or all of the council members to give their opinions on it. Because, this is, city project. And before we move ahead with the engineering portion of it, we want to hear from the people that live there, But like I said, the trees are a difficult one. Having trees of that size in the right of way, also, you have to look, if we leave them there, what is that going to do to our brand new street, brand new curbs, etc. If they're left there, it's going to deteriorate them quicker than if they were not there. So we are going to hand deliver a letter to every house on Thurnridge. Ideally, we would have liked to invite everyone down for a public hearing, but with COVID-19 and large gatherings, it's just not prudent at this time. So that's why we will deliver a letter. Every elected official's email will be listed on there, as well as myself and the mayor's, or they can handwrite something and deliver it back to City Hall. So we do want to hear from the people that live on Thurnridge, and then before we fully engineer it, we will discuss it and make our decisions.
Patrick, can we get a copy of the letter that you're sending out to the residents?
Yeah, it's not fully done. I'll send it over to you tomorrow, to everybody tomorrow, and then, like I said, we want to hand deliver them come on Friday. That way, people have a full 2 weeks to read over everything, and then get back to us with any feedback, positive, negative, questions, suggestions, etc. I'll send it over to you tomorrow.
Patrick, I did mention the last couple of council meetings that when you were out of town, that you were trying to come up with a way to meet with everybody, but obviously that's not going to happen. But maybe she sent this letter out, which is good information, maybe she didn't hear that meeting that you were going to try to get in touch with everybody on Thurnridge.
That I'm not sure. I mean, when people start commenting, on post on social media, it's kind of spirals. And like I said, the construction date for anyone watching, we don't have one. It has not been engineered. It has not gone out to bid. However, we were likely looking at trying to do that next summer. It makes sense with school traffic not to do that when school is in session. So summer of 2021 is the likely construction date for the project. So, we need to move forward on determining how we want the engineer to design it, because, we can, tell him that. But what I don't want to do is have him design it, and then, a month later, we're asking him to redesign it. So I'd rather give him the information up front with our, guidance. And certainly, we can lean towards, his recommendations as well. But, I want to give them as much upfront guidance before he starts actually, designing and engineering the entire project. Does that make sense?
Sure.
That worked for me, Patrick.
Okay.
What other communication?
Chris, you're on mute.
What other communications do you have, Carl?
Well, the communications she has are based on a petition that was passed around the community by a few individuals. I got mine from Tom Bemis. and it's got
26.
826 signatures. I kind of looked at the different streets that were in the petition, covered by the petition. It's most of the wards and most of the streets in the city. So if you would go ahead and read Tom's petition headline to start, and then all the other emails that came in.
We, the undersigned citizens of Reading, humbly request that our representatives on Reading City Council drop the lawsuit against our schools and agreed to allow the telephone poles in question to remain as they are. We, the taxpayers, do not want 50,000 plus of our money spent to move these poles, and we do not want our money to pay for both sets of lawyers to fight over this issue. I knocked on hundreds of doors. Nearly 100% of the people that I spoke to agreed with this petition. Like everything else, COVID-19 made this process difficult, and still we have over 800 citizens of Reading who are requesting that this stop. Please listen to the people. And that's from Tom Bemis. Here's some of the letters that I received. First one is from Jennifer Powers. Dear City Council, I am writing to urge you to drop the lawsuit against Reading City Schools. No one is questioning whether the poles should be there or not. We know they are a mistake. The question now is what to do about it. The poles are not dangerous. They are not an eyesore, as I am never even sure which two poles the argument is about, because there are several poles in that area. It seems to be solely an issue of following a contract and proving who's right. There are 4 options here. Option 1, the city uses my tax dollars to spend $50,000 to move 2 poles. Option 2, the city uses my tax dollars to spend $50,000 to move 2 poles.
That one reads the school.
I'm sorry, my bad. Option 3, the city uses my tax dollars to pay a legal team, and the school uses my tax dollars to pay a legal team, and in the end, the city or school uses $50,000 of my tax dollars to move the poles. Option 4, the city realizes that this is a waste of money, lets the poles stay where they are, saving possibly hundreds of thousands in taxpayers' dollars. You have chosen the option that wastes the most tax dollars. In the meeting when you voted to go forward with the lawsuit, I didn't even hear anyone ask how much it is going to cost. I don't know how much money it will cost to pay 2 teams of lawyers, but I don't want any tax dollars to be spent in that way. In a time when the state budget cuts have slashed public school funding by $300 million, causing the school to make budget cuts and let go staff, and a time when the city council is debating whether our city can afford a new police car and water fountains, spending money on this lawsuit does not make sense. I hope you will have the wisdom to look at this individual situation and make the decision that uses common sense. We did not elect you to spend thousands in taxpayers' money to prove that you are right. We elected you to look out for the best interest of our citizens and do what's best for our city. Please do so. Sincerely, Jennifer Powers. I received an email from Jeremy Easter. Dear City Council members, I am a current student at Reading High School and I'm asking you to consider dropping the lawsuit because the school is under enough financial burden as it is. So losing much more money would be detrimental to the education of our Reading kids. Thank you, Jeremy Easter. This is from Lee Kaler, I believe. I hope the City Council will not pursue the lawsuit against the schools over the utility pole placement. This is from Gail Kapler. I have signed the petition that Mr. Bemis is presenting at tonight's council meeting. I find it disheartening that this city's council is bringing a lawsuit against the school in this community. The children in Reading deserve to get a good education, and adding this debt to the school's budget will certainly take away many necessities needed to enable their education. I find it very upsetting that the city would take education away from our children to move poles. The The beautiful school and great teachers are the #1 reason for families to move to Reading. Thank you, G. From Shirley Nash. Council, I will be very disappointed if the city council continues its lawsuit against our schools. $50,000 plus lawyer fees is a sizable amount of money. I believe that money could be used in a much more beneficial manner for our community and its citizens. Please reconsider and leave the telephone poles where they are. Respectfully, Shirley Nash, 72-year resident of Reading. And from Lisa and Brian Cool. Hi, Carla. I received a communication from a friend saying that community opposition to the lawsuit regarding the polls would be discussed tonight, encouraging people to share our position in an email to you. We didn't get a chance to sign the petition, but we would be very happy if council would not move forward with this lawsuit. It's not our judgment of who is right or wrong. It's just dismay over the unthinkable amount of money that would be lost from that. Thank you to you, your dad, and the others for all their time and hard work. Take care, Lisa and Brian Cool. And I believe that's everything.
Okay.
Motion that they be marked, received, and filed.
Motion made by Mr. Fishesher. Second.
I have one more here from Jill Nash that was sent out.
I'm sorry, I didn't print that one out, but I did get it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. It says, hello, we support the request to stop the lawsuit against Reading Community Schools. I helped to collect signatures by going door to door earlier this summer. Every homeowner on Old Wick Drive that opened their door signed the document being presented tonight. Residents do not want tax dollars spent on lawsuits regardless of who is right or wrong. The overall response was that we have other more important problems than moving poles. Thank you, Jill Nash.
Sorry, Jill. I did that. I just didn't put it. My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, there was a motion made by Mr. Fishesher, seconded by Mr. Albring, to mark all of these emails as received and filed. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So those will be received. Now, the next question is there any business to do with this? Let's think about that, and when we get to the new business, maybe someone will bring something up that they want to.
Hey, I would like to make a comment. I'd like a copy of all the letters, and I think I have those, but I'd like a copy of the petition and all the signatures.
That can certainly be done. Okay, I'm going to go back to the agenda here and go to council committee reports. Finance, Chairman Mr. Gertz.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have very much of anything tonight. I did have a casual conversation with the auditor. I do still want to meet with her. Sabrina's been very accommodating, providing me with any data or information that I have a desire to seek. I just haven't had a chance to meet with her. I still working to catch up from vacation on my work in the office. I do want to look into again more thoroughly the grant monies that were put into I believe the wrong fund, but I haven't had a chance to follow up with it. And that's all I got to report tonight.
All right. No questions. Thank you, Mr. Gertz. Utilities, Lands and Buildings, Chairman Mr. Lindeman.
Thank you, Chris. The bench project moves along. I have not had any communication with Bennett Kotler, but I will say that on Facebook, there is a video by a professor from the University of Cincinnati that was down and he was touting what we have been accomplished so far and looking forward to some other things happening down there. So if you happen to get on Facebook, hopefully you can find that. And as far as the rest of my report, I think that Mark filled that space for me very well. I appreciate him taking that.
Yes, and one thing I'd like to add, I was talking to ICRC Jason Dudley about the report, about the videos that were done down at the bench project. And he extended to me that we should contact Mr. Kotler again and to get support from ICRC to make a video. And one of the things I mentioned was, can you do an aerial drone of the site, which I think would give a better description of what we see rather than the ground level. And he said they have the capabilities of doing that. So I've got to call into Ben, but you might want to think about looking into that too, Mr. Lindeman, and maybe getting
I
something
appreciate
like
that, Chris, and I did talk to Bennett Kotler. I told him that if he does any more videos, we certainly would like to see them.
Yes. Okay. But they're willing to help out. They're actually willing to go down and do the videos. And like I said, a drone review of it would be very nice. And he was even thinking that we could even go further and give like a 4-minute presentation of maybe the history, the background, and a little more than just on site. So sounds like a project for someone.
It's right. I think it's very interesting. And I will say that we have a council member that has used his drone to explore the school site and other things.
I wouldn't know who that was.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Lindeman? Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. Zoning, planning, and environment, Mr. Powell.
I have no report this evening.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Powell. Laws and contracts, Chairwoman, Mrs. Edichico.
I have no report tonight, Chris. Thank you.
Okay. No questions for either of them. Okay. Public Health and Safety Chairman, Mr. Fishesher.
Thank you, Chris. I do have a report. We'll be having our second reading of the ordinance to extend our contract with Arlington Heights to supply fire and EMS services for the next 5 years. If anyone public-wise has any questions, feel free to contact either the administration, the fire chief, or myself. We will be voting on this ordinance at the next meeting. Last week, UC Health launched the regional's first mobile stroke unit. Mobile stroke unit is an ambulance specially designed to evaluate and treat patients with a possible stroke. The unit combines an emergency department with an ambulance to provide hospital level care at the scene of the emergency. A highly trained team of 4, which consists of a UC Healthcare mobile care paramedic, a critical care registered nurse, and a UC Health CT technician, will staff the unit, and then a stroke team physician will respond via telecommunications. This team can quickly assess the patient and provide treatment if necessary. The UC Health Mobile Stroke Unit is equipped with an advanced diagnostic technology, including a mobile CT scanner and the clot-busting drug, TPA. TPA is the only FDA-approved medical treatment for ischemic and thrombolytic strokes. The UC Health Mobile Stroke Unit is based out of Springfield Township Fire Department and is co-dispatched by the comm center for any possible stroke runs in their 15-minute response areas. I do know that their first run was here in Reading for one of our senior citizens. And I'd also like to note that Chief Owens was on the committee that implemented this program. So Reading has been active from the start with it, and we were the first to take advantage of it. Last meeting, we had the pleasure of having Chief Edens in attendance to share his thoughts and goals for the police department going forward. I do want to thank him again for taking the time to come meet with us. Because he had given kind of a lengthy report, I did fail to give the July statistics for the police department. So I'll share those tonight. They had 1,282 calls for service, 39 auto accidents. In booking, they had total charges was 177. Of those, original charges was 153. Citations issued to courts. Arlington Heights Court, there was 30, Hamilton County Court, 6, Juvenile Court, 3, and the Redding's Merit Court, 123, for a total citations of 162. So if you break all that down by day, that's 327 calls for service, 11 auto accidents, 59 booking arrests, and 54 minor citations per day. So anyone out there, and there's a couple that I've talked to recently that seem to feel that our police department is kind of slacking and not doing anything. I think they're, to say the least, a little bit busy. The police department held a patrolman's test last Saturday. 20 of the 28 candidates that signed up completed the test. The 3 officers that Chief Edens had mentioned that were off for COVID leave are now all back and doing well. This afternoon, the chief and I discussed several issues, one of which was the concerns with truck traffic on Benson and Columbia's Hills that was mentioned on social media. There's been an increase in dump trucks due to the 2 school sites being cleared in the bench project by the VYO fields. Then you add the closing of Lockman Railroad crossings and the problem is compounded. The police department has increased patrols and have cited some trucks in violation. You know, and for the people on the Hill that say they never see the trucks getting cited, you need to keep in mind that they will not pull the trucks over on the hill due to safety concerns. They usually wait until they're on Redding Road. So if you're living on the hill, you probably will not see the citations being issued. And then the last thing I have for this evening is that the new cruisers are expected in October. So I will have an ordinance on the agenda next month for equipping and changing over these vehicles. And that's all I have for tonight, Chris.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. Any questions?
Yeah, Randy, regarding the truck traffic on Benson and Columbia, is there any way we can look at getting a sign put maybe on the exit of Cross County before they get off the highway? I know there's signs once you're on Columbia, but I think the issue that people are having is once a truck gets off the highway there's no place for them to really go and turn around. And
Right, that's why they've always been permitted, and he and I kind of went over this. They've always been permitted to go down Benson. There is I think an ordinance with weight involved, but they felt that Benson was a safer way down. Whatever we do, if we want to change that, we'll have to change all the signage. So if council decides that we want to ban trucks on, coming anywhere down that way, then we'll need to, administration or whoever will have to change all the signs out in order to do that. One of the problems, and I even brought that up because I knew it was an excuse that the truckers use, that their GPSs bring them that way. But the cops don't buy it because there are specific truck GPSs that avoid the Columbia Avenue. They know that trucks aren't allowed on there, but what the truckers are doing is using their phone's GPS. So they still get cited. The dump trucks are probably still legal. So, my hope is that once the dump trucks and the sites are cleared, that things will slow down a little bit. But I know it's a problem. I've seen the semis, trying to get them to turn around up there is horrendous. So it is something that he's looking at, something that he and I have discussed, a couple of times now. And it's something that I think that, eventually I'll sit down with Patrick and if council has thoughts, one thought that I heard, and I forget who I was talking to, was to go ahead and just ban trucks turning right. You know, if they get off the intersection, they have to go straight across and back onto the cross county, you know, and go all the way down to Galbraith and bring them in off of Galbraith, which I have no objection to either. You know, that could eliminate some of it. So, you know, we're open to suggestions. So anybody that has them, I would be willing to talk about it.
Hey, Randy, do you know when the fire chief's vehicle is going to be returned to service?
Who?
Chief Owen's vehicle.
No, I mean, he's really working now, off and on. I mean, he's in the office every day.
Well, I'm not talking
And
about
I'm in
him working. I'm
communication.
asking you about his vehicle. When is it going to be returned to service?
Oh, I have no idea, Don. He just told me that they were going to fix it.
Okay.
I have no idea what, and I don't think they have an idea as to what extent or how long it's going to take.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fischasher.
Question for Mr. Fish.
Go ahead, Mr. Gertz.
Randy, you said that those 3 police officers returned to work. Now, I'm curious, did they, I believe, I don't know, I'd like to know for sure that they tested positive and then were quarantined for the 2 weeks, but were they ever hospitalized or received medical treatment, or did they actually suffer from any consequences of testing positive, or was it a matter of precautionary measures?
I think it was precautionary, Tony. I know they were not hospitalized, and I know that the quarantining was in their own home.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was. Okay. Because I'm curious, sometimes we have these and one gets a perception that as soon as you have somebody that's quarantined, that they're already ill and suffering from the illness. And not that I'm criticizing the police department. I think it was a safe thing to do, but it's getting frustrated when you have numerous tests, but you don't really end up with people who are really sick.
All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fischasher. Service Chairman, Mr. Albrink.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did do a windshield survey of all of the streets in Ward 4, and I will be compiling a written list of all of my findings for the Safety Service Director. Most of the streets are in fair condition. Almost all of them have transverse and longitudinal cracking. In some instances, some of that is because there's a concrete base underneath, and some of that goes away in the heat of the summer. But when winter comes around, it gets worse. There's a lot of utility cuts on many of the streets. The worst street, I think, in my ward that needs attention is Furman Road from Columbia to Sanborn Court. There's all kinds of spalling and cracking and transverse cracking. There's a huge utility cut the entire length of that. There's holes in that, especially up by Reading or by Thurnridge, and from Thurnridge out to Columbia. And hopefully we can get something done this year on that. There's a couple other streets that while I was going around, Vine Street, the lower part of Vine Street, I think needs some work. Mill Street needs a lot of work. And I think that is primarily due to that sanitary sewer, or that the sanitary sewer that goes down the center of that street, and that's always filled. And it carries stormwater, I think, still, and that's part of the problem. But if you drive that street, it's not in very good shape at all. And the entrance to Gull Terrace from Reading Road up to the short little hill there needs some work. But I will, like I say, make a list for Mr. Ross to at least show him what I initially found in the windshield survey that I did. So I'll try to have that to him either tomorrow or Friday. And that's it for me tonight.
Thank you very much for your report, Denny. I hope you're feeling a lot better.
I'm getting there.
Okay, that's good. Whatever I can do to help you out, let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
I raised my hand.
Oh, go ahead.
Randy, you can go first.
oh, okay. According to Chief Edens, all three of the officers tested positive. They were all three quarantined, and all three have been released by their doctor and are back to work. And they were all on the same unit.
All right. Thank you, Randy. Who else had a comment?
Patrick.
Go ahead, Patrick.
This is Dennis. Just a follow up to what you just mentioned about the streets. First, Furman. Furman is eligible also for MRF, so that could lessen the amount we have to borrow, because if we get a MRF for anyone at home, that's municipal road funds.
Yeah.
Those are county dollars that are only eligible on streets that connect to jurisdictions. And since Furman Road crosses over to Amberley, it is an eligible road. And that program is going on again. It's a little everything's a little delayed this year because of COVID and things that were approved, but that road is eligible for MRF, Dennis.
Good.
And then the Gull Terrace one, I'd have to review the plans again, but I believe that is where MSD is going to be putting part of their new stormwater pipe. So they will be repaving that once that they put that in there.
Okay.
So that's part of their project, is repaving curb to curb. So that section will be getting repaved by MSD. I think it's up to, I don't know how far up they go, but I think it's up to close to Gorman where they're going to be going, if I recollect that. So just a couple feedback on those two.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Albrink. Recreation Chairman, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you very much. I just want to announce that the pool is no longer open during the week. It will have some weekend hours still this weekend, the 22nd and the 23rd, and next weekend, the 29th and the 30th, weather permitting. They plan to be open on the weekends. And the 30th will be the last day that the pool is open, weather permitting. Other than that, I also did a windshield inspection of my ward. I think some of the roads that I'm interested in trying, and emailed Patrick about it, was Genoma and East Crest. I think were the ones that need the most work. So I hope that those will be looked at and recognized. Other than that, I have nothing to report.
Hey, Tom, I thought Windcrest looked pretty bad too.
Yeah, let's just do the whole Ward 3. How about that?
That would be even better.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lynn, and also for the comedy. We will go to new business. I was wondering if we should look to put this in one of the committees. The question that came up from the public around the signatures and the current lawsuit. And I'd like to go ahead and have Ms. Edichico take that and discuss with council members one-on-one, so it's not a committee. Talk about it in your committee and see what you want to do around bringing something back to council on that. Anybody have a problem with that?
I'd like to suggest we do a council of the whole, maybe redo another Zoom meeting somewhere next week or the following week, and we could discuss it. But, I only got about simple 12 or 15 comments, but I would wait till we have our meeting if you want me to wait.
Yeah, I'd like to have something come out of Ms. Edichico's committee to the council first.
Well, we do have to have a resolution. This can't be just some kind of voice vote. I did discuss that with the law director. So we've had this thing come before, and I'd like to have the petition, look at all the names, look at the addresses, and have knowledge about, exactly where we come up with some of these numbers that Bemis has submitted, and also, talk to some of those people who signed a petition, if they fully understand all the elements that happen. 850 names, it's very impressive, but maybe there's a question of whether they understood all the ramifications of what can happen.
And that's the kind of things, Ms. Chico, you should be looking into.
I think the councilman will look into it.
Yeah, it's, I'm afraid to get all of council involved. It'll just be a discussion. There won't be any action item coming out of it.
They call government.
Yep, too big a government.
That's the problem with this kind of a program. I still think we ought to go back to the council chambers. And, they're doing other things.
Is there any other business besides that anyone wants to bring up, put into account, into a committee or anything?
Yeah, I talked to Linda Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Casually, we have issues. I think this was brought up. I talked to Mr. Ashbrook. He's on a group that talks about various things that are going on in the valley here. And the Port Authority is working with the village of Evendale, as I think we mentioned previously, about developing some property that they're going to acquire north of us, up near the Formica plant. And now I became aware that also the Economic Development Department for the Village of Laughlin is exploring, I'm not sure it's with the Port Authority, but they're exploring the expansion and development of the old Stearns and Foster property. So I think it behooves us to get our Economic Development Director in here. She told me she's slated to come in October, but I think we should have her sooner than later, and she will help us. I did talk to her, so hopefully I'm going to get her to attend a picnic that we're having on Thursday, and maybe we can talk to her one-on-one there and then expand that to I still think it would be valuable to have some kind of committee of council and have some people come in and put them on Zoom, and rather than wait every couple of, we're only meeting twice a month now, and it's hard to keep up on what's going on if they're going to be in direct competition with what we want to do with the old PNC property. I'd like to know what's going on about what we're going to do with it or where that's going. Plus, it's an attractive nuisance as it is.
Yes, I did talk to Linda also, and she would like to have Melissa Johnson from the Port Authority come into the meeting with her. But I gave them a couple of dates, and they picked the last one that I offered to them, which was October 21st, I believe. If we have other things we want to talk to just Linda straight on, and council wants to, back Tony's opinion that we get her in earlier, I can give her another call and see if she can't make a sooner meeting plus that one for the Port Authority. So does that seem like the right thing to do to council? I still have a couple of dates open between now and then.
I agree. I think it would be good to have her come in and talk about some of what's going on with businesses and that in Reading. And I think it would be good to have them a few times a year, maybe quarterly, maybe twice a year.
Well, I talked to her about coming in 3 times a year, every 4 months.
Yeah.
Same date, same meeting every year on this, so it'd be October, and then 4 months I think was going to be March, and then I don't know, I think it was June, February and June.
And we can discuss maybe more often than that, in my opinion. I like to keep up.
Well, we'll see how these first couple go. I mean, that's fine. I know that she wanted to have Miss Johnson with her and that probably influenced when she came in. But I think it would also be good for us to hear from her so that we can all develop questions for Miss Johnson too about the Port Authority. We don't know anything about it, and if they give a presentation, it may be too soon to figure out questions. So I'll see if I can't get her into maybe the second, maybe next month, next meeting, first week in September. I'll see if I can get her for a few minutes, 15 minutes to give us an overview.
You can always ask questions on the fly as we learn too. You don't have to always have them so well planned. I think what I raised, these questions of Evendale and Laughlin both expanding, they're going to be in direct competition with what we want to do. I want to know what she's doing to beat the competition.
Okay, that's fair.
Chris, before the virus, you had scheduled several people, and you were going to try to have them come in on a regular basis. Remember that?
Yeah,
Building
um,
department, other people. I mean, I think
Sure,
we should go back to, I think
I
we should
haven't
go
made
back-
all those contacts yet, but the mayor is going to join us on the second Tuesday in September. Linda was going to be on the second Tuesday in October. I'm going to try to get her for the first Tuesday in September. And I'm thinking about who might be the best. Maybe Dan Brooks should be the first one in the first week in September, first Tuesday in September, in October, I mean. So that'll take care of the next 2 months. And then after that, I'm going to probably try to get the chiefs in. I don't know, maybe even the Reading Historical Society might want to come, or the Chamber of Commerce might come and dress us. So I've got some ideas and try to get people in, but a couple of people we need to hear from more than once a year. I'm going to try to get them scheduled in that way.
There's no reason why we can't go back to the second and fourth Tuesdays and have caucuses and bring them in too, you know.
Yeah, we can always do that. This is working out fairly well.
Well, maybe in your perception, my perception is not. It takes too long before you hear anything, you know.
No, I mean having the Zoom meetings, but I know what you're saying about having more than 2 meetings.
I would prefer not doing these, but you know, I'm apparently minority in that issue. So, well, there's a magical date. It's all going to be cured on November the 3rd anyway. So.
Well, but I think your meeting more than twice a month would help with some of that information too. So we should keep that open.
All right.
Any other business?
Reports of the.
Then I'm going to go to reports. Nothing from the mayor. Safety Service Director, Mr. Ross.
Thanks, Chris. 2 of my items we've already gone in great detail, so I'm not going to go over those again. Just the only other thing is myself, the mayor, police chief, fire chief, assistant fire chief, were invited to a meeting last Friday up at Reading, the Reading schools, regarding their traffic plan. As you might be aware, or for those who aren't aware, the in-person plan for Reading schools is a morning and afternoon, 2 separate sessions. The morning session, I believe, is 8:20 to 11:20, and the afternoon, I believe, is 12:40 to 3:40. I might be off on the minutes by 10 plus or minus, but that is basically the framework. So they invited us up to collaborate with us and ask our opinions on how they flow through for drop off and pickup, because obviously everything is much different. So I believe they've come to kind of a consensus and one that both fire chief and police chief were both happy with. So I'm not gonna, I don't have the maps, but they will be sending out that information for pickup and drop off for their students. So, it's always beginning of the school year is always, kind of a big thing for traffic wise around all the schools. This year more so than ever, because parents aren't going to be able to drop their kids off, 30, 45 minutes ahead of time. They're not going to be able to park in front of the school. That's one thing our fire chief was very, especially at pickup, you have people just parking in the fire lane. So it's going to be more strict as far as some of those things go. But, they think they have a flow that's going to work pretty well for them. And we appreciate them asking us, to join, and so we could all give some input. I just want to thank, lastly, I just want to thank all the educators, and school officials from private schools, public schools. This is something that it's not easy for anybody. So I ask, everyone be patient. This is something that nobody signed up for, nobody wanted to have to deal with. So I just want to thank all the people for all their time, they put in. I know several teachers here and other schools and administrators, and You know, having taught, did homeschool for my daughter last spring, and I know I speak for a lot of other parents that we're very appreciative, more so than ever, of the job that teachers do for our kids at all the schools, you know. So just want to thank them as the new school year begins. You know, some have already begun. I think Reading starts August 31st. M&D is a little bit before that. So just thank them all and have a great school year.
Patrick, I have a question for you. Did you have anybody from Mount Notre Dame in that meeting, or?
There was no one from Mount Notre Dame, but this was organized by Reading Schools. They said that they have been in contact with M&D regarding their start and dismissal times, and they've spread their, I know their first start time is 40 minutes after M&D starts, and then their second pickup time is 45 minutes after M&D departs. So they feel very comfortable that they won't be, at least with Mount Notre Dame, they won't be crossing traffic that much. So
Good.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Ross? Thank you, Mr. Ross. We will go to the treasurer, Mr. Gertz.
Thanks, Chris. I'll be brief. Just a quick update of where we are month to date. We've collected $527,486.98. So we're only about $3,500 short of the entire amount we collect. We're hoping to, we still have 9 business days left in August. We're hoping to keep chipping away at how we're running behind year to date overall. And hopefully, you know, before the year ends, we'll be able to be at least at a break-even position, if not ahead, in our collections. But so far in August, it's been a pretty favorable month. So, and I did send out the report to everyone for July as well. I didn't know if anybody had any questions on that report because I wasn't at the meeting.
No, but I think Mr. Gertz, Tony Goetz, did cover for you and made it sound like it was a very special month for catching up. So,
yeah, we definitely made some great progress in July. So we still got a ways. It still got a ways to go.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Gertz. I think Tony was saying that we really are about 8% behind. But you're saying we may be catching up on that 8% too.
Yeah, right now I think we're running, I mean, just overall, I don't know that it's 8%, but at the end of July, we were 4.8%.
He meant that we were 5% behind our projection, but 3% behind last year.
Okay, I got you.
So we're trying to make up 8%, but we're only 3% down.
I got you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we'll go to the auditor, Ms. Smith.
Thanks, Chris. I just wanted to give the update that I'm working with all the department heads to plan for the end of the year. It's already that time now that we're getting to September. So I met with Patrick today about just the end of the year payables. I'm going to need everything by Friday, December 4th that isn't a normal paid kind of item within the month to kind of settle that up. So in case we have to do any adjustments for the county on what we spend, Patrick and I can get our parts done for that. So that's kind of my biggest update as we kind of go into mid-month of August. And Chris, I just have a few just general announcements for the public later. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Any questions for?
I don't have a question for Sabrina, but I guess I hit my mute button, but I had a question for Mr. Ross.
Go ahead.
Do you have any idea, Mr. Ross, when they're going to complete the, I know they've demolished all the property down there in Central. but it seems like it's been taking a fairly long time to kind of finish that up. Is there a timetable? Does anybody know? I've had some residents ask me about that. Do we know any timetable? Or did you leave the meeting? I don't know. Can you hear me?
There's no video right now, and he's on mute, so I'm not sure if he's going to be back in a minute or not. Let's hold on to your question until he comes back, or if not.
No, nothing new.
Okay.
Tony, they were working down there again today.
Well, they've been working down there every day, but I
Yeah.
know they got a big project busting up all the old stuff, but my recollection was I haven't calculated the time, I'll be frank, but my recollection was, and some of the residents around our general neighborhood here are wondering how long is this actually going to take? And then subsequent to that, there's been a lot of questions about what's the future use. And I think we as a council ought to start exploring that ourselves and finding out what the school intends to do.
Okay. Well, now it looks like Mr. Ross has completely left the meeting, so that'd be a good one for a quick call to him on, off the meeting site. Let's go to reading of resolutions. Carla, you're on mute still.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay. A resolution to authorize the Safety Service Director to execute an agreement on behalf of the City of Reading, Hamilton County, Ohio, with, is it Dynegy? Did I say that right? Dynegy. Services for electric supply to the City of Reading Electric Aggregation Program. The Safety Service Director can execute an amendment to the Master Service Agreement not to exceed 5.39 cents per kilowatt for a traditional energy product beginning with the June 2021 meter read date through December 2022 meter read date. The Safety Service Director can enter into subsequent agreements with regard to this program to reduce costs as needed.
Make a motion to suspend the rules for the second and third reading. If you don't mind, I could like to comment. I know that Patrick said that back when, 2 weeks at least ago, that he would like to have this passed tonight if possible. I realize that this is just the first reading, so it's up to council.
I'll second the motion.
Motion
I'll
made.
second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Lindeman, second by Mr. Gertz to suspend the rule requires a third reading. Roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman?
Yes,
Mr. Fischasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico?
Yes,
That motion passed.
Motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Albrecht, seconded by Mrs. Edichico to adopt the ordinance for the aggregate. Roll call.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Gertz?
Yes.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes.
Mr. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mr. Lindeman?
yes,
Mr. Fischasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico?
Yes,
That ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number.
Resolution as
Oh, I'm sorry. Resolution number.
2020-34R.
Okay. And our other ordinance for tonight.
Believe it's a resolution.
First one was a resolution. This one's an ordinance. This is second reading. An ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement with the Village of Arlington Heights, Ohio.
Yeah, and this is for EMS service. Is that right, Randy?
That
Or is it-
EMS and fire service, yes.
Okay.
Randy,
This
did
is
you want
second
this to go three? Did Do you want us to go 3 readings or not?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, we'll let it go because it doesn't take effect until January 1 anyway.
All right. So that was our second reading if there's no motion. So we will go to other business. Ms. Smith.
Thanks, Chris. I just wanted to let everybody know that the farmer's market is every Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. And also the park passports have been launched. So there's 14 locations in the city where kids can etch kind of a landmark at our different parks or like our city hall building. And they get a free ice cream from Vonderhaar's once it's complete. The packets can be picked up here at City Hall. They can also be found at the farmer's market. They can also be found at the Reading Library. And that is for the pickup or inside the library. Or you can give me a call at 733-4879 or email me at smith@readingohio.org if you need a copy. Or you can also find it online at our website at readingohio.org. I just wanted to give those quick updates. Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
The
Anyone
tomatoes
else
at the
for other
farmer's
business?
market.
Go ahead, Mr. Lynn.
The tomatoes at the farmer's market are very, very good. I recommend them to anybody to go down there and get them.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think it's unfair that only kids get a free ice cream. I might want to do that.
Well, you could try to pass off as a kid there, Mr. Gertz. I think they give you one.
I need to get out and walk. My wife keeps talking.
Anyone else?
I would just like to thank council for passing the resolution for the aggregation. I appreciate you spending the time tonight to listen to the gentleman that came and present their case. And I think it's the best thing for the city. I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Don. Anything else? Well, make sure you tell people how to get on and become an audience participating person. Just tell them to go to the website and fill out the form. Should be pretty straightforward. And we'll look to see who can bring the first person. No prize. All right. Thank you for your time tonight. This meeting is adjourned.
Night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Hey,
Night.
Mr. Gertz? Mr. Gertz already left. Okay. I'll call him myself.
Have a good night.
Call Mr. Gertz.
Calling Tony Gertz. Home.